So last year I went to Birmingham, which is always a dangerous thing to do. Somebody's from Birmingham, sorry. No, it's always a nice thing to do. So it was ProductTank Birmingham, and what they had said they wanted to do was they wanted to have a panel session about what AI meant to product managers, which is really generic, kind of like, what does it mean to product managers? That was one of the problems. So when we were talking about doing this, I thought, what I'd like to do is try and distill what came up at that, because unfortunately it wasn't recorded. So I could say whatever I want now, but it wasn't recorded. I was chairing it. We had 3 panelists. It took 3.5 hours because there was so many questions. It was great. Again, it all happened. It was wonderful. You'll just have to take my word for that. But I'm going to try and distill it in 20 minutes. That's always going to be a challenge. So I'm Alan. I've got over 20 years in product and engineering, foundational degree in artificial intelligence from the 90s, which will be interesting in a moment. And I usually specialize in translating those complex sort of technology into commercial success. So what else are we doing here? So beyond hype and into pragmatic action is like my lofty title for this. I'm going to make this statement. Most of the AI you rely on never announced itself. So, AI has been around for 50, 60 years technically. And some of the things that we talk about, like if I say, what are the AI words that you would most commonly say? And I'm not going to bother asking you in that kind of way. Generative AI, large language models, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, agentic, whatever you want to say. A lot of the time, those are the models that come up, the comments. So co-pilots, that kind of thing. But when you think about it, and I'm going to quickly run through 3 slides that I put up, we're not going to look at them in detail. But when you think about the problems, we have been doing like heuristic mapping for Google Maps, say, for instance. That was AI. And that was quite a few years ago we did it. Spam filtering in your email. These were AI tools, Bayesian discussions. Computer vision, like how do you unlock your phone with your face? These are all AI tools. The hype has mainly been around generative AI recently. So when people say to you, your CEO comes to you and says, right, we've got to get AI in this product. Well, actually there's a ton of things that you could be doing. So foundationalist, I'm really not going to go through all these, but they're in here because I'm going to give you the slides. So recommendation engines, predictive analytics, spam filtering, clustering, computer vision, optical character recognition, natural language processing, speech recognition, expert systems, heuristic search algorithms, blah, 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 blah. There's a ton of things that you could actually be using right now. By the way, I like good old-fashioned AI. So I've got a few links at the end if you want to hear me talk about that. A lot of people, when I say that I did AI in the 90s, they go, oh my God, what brought that on? How were you able to do things? And I just went very slowly. That's how we did things, very slowly. So now, obviously, I'm looking at that going, we've got all these great things. Few myths and realities that I found. Again, these were distilled from this presentation, the chair that we did, the panel. It understands what you mean. That doesn't. A lot of people go, it does. That doesn't. And actually, the real one there is it predicts what usually comes next. So it's a predictive tool. It's not, it's looking at plausibilities of what you do. And for those of you who heard me talk about this before, probably you, I can tell, the Million Monkeys, the typewriters, and the works of Shakespeare, that is what you're doing. And yes, often it's the right thing, especially when you look at vibe coding and things. Often it can give you the right answers. But sometimes it's just wrong. Although we spin things, or a lot of those companies spin them into human language. So they say it's hallucinated. It hasn't, it's got it wrong. You can plug it straight into your architecture. No, you can't. An AI strategy replaces your product strategy. No, it doesn't. Your data problem was always a real problem. That's actually a real thing, because that, a lot of your AI tools require a lot of data to work on. And if that's all wrong or in the wrong places, it's still going to be wrong. Garbage in, garbage out. Better data in a narrower question fixes more. That was something else that we decided in the panel session, was quite important to remember about. So I like the example also I gave then. It has changed slightly. When you ask like ChatGPT and things, you used to be able to ask it, how many R's in the word strawberry. And I have to say that carefully because I'm Scottish. And so it usually gets it wrong, or it used to, because it dealt with it as tokens and therefore it wasn't really spelling. It just said, well, 2. Interestingly, there was the period when that was the case, it got that wrong. But what they were doing is they started to put pre-processing in. So if you said to one of those models at the start, what's 2 plus 2, it would often say 4, but not because it was actually doing maths, but because it was plausibly the next answer or the next token that they could put out. Then they started doing maths. Like when you count things, it's saying, okay, well, it's doing some natural language processing before your prompt goes into the neural net. So yeah, myths and realities about what we're doing. And then I think also there was a key split in that discussion about capability or productivity. So if I look at the productivity first, which is on this side of the screen, oddly, it's about how can you use AI tools to help you as a product manager develop like PRDs and collate data and things like that around it. And that's the tools. So use Gen AI for your own workflow. These were great things that we all agreed in that session that we could do. Prototyping, summarizing and drafting, another excellent use for it. Prototyping asterisk should have been on there, but we'll come to that. We can measure that in speed and context management as well. It's an issue about how you do your context for that. But product capabilities where, they're about building the features for your users using some AI tools. Using an AI tool to be one of those features. Relies on broad ML. This was another discussion, computer vision or predictive analytics. And again, we'd measure that in this case, latency, safety, and scale. So these were quite a few topics that we came up with in that. Let's also, I think, here, we actually had a discussion about shadow AI. So it was mainly around productivity tools, because usually when you're trying to develop a product, and I say this and everybody's going to laugh slightly, you'll check that you actually should be able to do this before you use certain things. This is why you have that whole thing of, well, we're going to go and check all the licenses on the open source tools to make sure that actually we can deploy this product. It's the same with AI things. But the productivity tools, shadow AI is a bit like shadow IT. So previously we had this big problem in tech companies that, in fact, not even just the software engineers, but anybody would do it. So marketing would use it, whatever, recruitment. They would be using IT things that they shouldn't be or hadn't been approved. So for instance, you'd see a lot of people using like box.com to upload assets to, and then you discover that actually it'd been leaked because they had inadvertently made it available to anybody. Shadow AI is no different, like people using ChatGPT, especially in, say, recruitment, uploading all those CVs that have all this GDPR data in it, and they haven't got any approval to do that. So there's also that productivity tool thing where we looked at, okay, make sure you've got a management plan in place in your organization, make sure you're able to use those tools effectively and securely. So that was a bit about shadow AI on this one. Prototype versus production gap. This is the vibe coding slide. So I think we probably spent about an hour just talking about vibe coding in that session. There were lots of questions about, well, can you use the vibe coding prototype to inform you as to, or to allow you to build the code base for the actual production item? And the answer was felt to be not really. You could build the prototype. So day one, I've got a little comment there, day one and day 90. So day one, generates rapid syntactically correct drafts. Yeah, your vibe coding prototype thing's good. Delivers plausible initial results for stakeholders. Yeah, these are all good things. Feels like an immediate productivity multiplier. I haven't been drinking. I don't know why I'm unable to say that. Productivity multiplier. These are all good things that vibe coding is about. And using it within a product management site. I don't necessarily mean just specifically around software development, but the product management side. However, let's not assume that your prototype should be exactly how you're going to be building it for the production thing. So often vibe coding stuff fails silently in edge cases and legacy integrations. Was another thing we picked up, because a lot of the time you were talking about, I need this to integrate with some other older school code base or this system or that database. So often it would be problematic with that. Race conditions and event processing. There was a topic, a lot of people were talking about how some of these tools didn't do very well at understanding race conditions, especially when there was user interactions. It's about testing, I know, but also some of the way that people code stuff. You know, if you're an engineer and you're looking at things, you should be able to go, this is going to probably create a race condition here. We should probably be careful what we do there. Another topic that was brought up forgets the broader architectural and security context. So I know we were talking about context and making sure we had enough space for the context, but one of the topics that came up in this panel session was about architectural and security context. In other words, why did we build it that way? What's the security around this? One of the examples was the dating app. Was it called The T? So it was a dating app targeted at women. That sounds wrong. But, you know, it was marketed to women, not targeted, sorry. And it was mainly for them, because they were paying the premium rates on it. It was for them to talk about dating men. And they would discuss it, so they could all discuss a man. And I mean, whoever thought this was a great idea? But they had essentially vibe coded this and had done it as a startup. And does anybody know this story? Has anybody heard of this one? Yeah. So they had essentially vibe coded it and used the agents to be able to deploy it into AWS, but there was no security on any of it. So all the S3 buckets that they'd use were completely open. So there was all the pictures that were in the discussions, all the payment information for all the people that signed up. And yeah, it was a problem waiting to happen. So there's lots of like guardrails you need to put in when you're doing this. And by the way, don't think, you're looking at me skeptically, don't think I just stand here and say, don't use AI, it's all shocking. Like use it responsibly and know what the guardrails need to be and think about that issue. Yeah, so this was something that came up. It seems a little bit of a odd thing to put in here, but inference, the meter that runs every time someone clicks. So training is the expensive part that happens once. Inference is the recurring cost of running that model live. Your bill, your latency spikes, and your failure surfaces are almost entirely the second one. So one of the threads that we picked up was, yeah, great, wonderful, let's get it running. There's quite a few people were like trying to do this with financial data, interestingly enough. But they hadn't realized the costs of actually running it. And as a product manager, you should always be looking at total cost of ownerships on things. And sometimes it's quite difficult to determine what that total cost of ownership is with some of these tools or the features that you're going to implement. So that's quite important, I think. Then we came up with 3 things to try tomorrow. Well, actually, I distilled these from the panel session for you lot. Measure the total cost of ownership early, so factor model drift, latency. Model drift means your AI it gets worse over time. So if you're using an LLM, it gets worse over time based on real world data that you're then asking it questions. Hold the why when generating code. That was an interesting one. Manage the context window and enforce human ground truth testing. So context window is simply the AI short-term memory limit. Put too much in, it starts forgetting the instructions at the top. Obviously, there are ways of minimizing the risk. But yes, remember that it's actually your responsibility. Build a deterministic fallback first. The most effective AI strategy is knowing when not to use it. Sometimes the best AI strategy is knowing when not to use it. It could be faster, cheaper, all these things, but sometimes a simple database query or a cleaner UI or, I don't know, a clearer workflow of how you actually do things might actually solve the problem. So don't immediately pick up AI and say, right, we're going to do this because it's going to solve this. Quick thing, interactive bit. Which part of your job would you actually hand over? So we didn't answer this in the panel session, but it was a theme that kept coming up. So 2 minutes, quick. Which part of your job would you actually hand over as product managers, if you all are? Ask each other. Quick. It's very tempting. It's very tempting, this.
No, yeah, I actually stuff. She buys me the I like that. So it's saying I don't I think it going. It get not him. Why? And there's a Jerry. It or that. I forgot that I am. That it's the sound like that. Is it funny? Yeah, you're there.
Okay.
I think it's hard.
It sounds like we're getting to some conclusions.
I was you like something. No, the next place here is that. Yep.
Or maybe not. Maybe I've just introduced a discussion that goes on forever.
Well, Denver, you got boss. We got us. I can help you'll deal with or bye-bye. Yeah, it's big upside.
Okay. I think maybe we should come back and ask who's got a good one? What would they hand over? It might be, it's got a good one, right? Go on then. What would you hand over?
Emails.
Emails. Okay. Yeah. But what about the responsibility of answering emails? Like, do you mean just emails that you send or emails that you receive and asking questions?
Very active. Then do that.
Oh, okay.
I think maybe it's in space of emails like digital sheet like the slowest.
You'd rather have like WhatsApp, agent style chat. Yeah, okay. But you would still want to make the final decisions on what was being said, or you'd be happy to?
This thing is really radicalized.
I'd rather have a meeting.
The bad.
Yeah. Although that phrase of this could have been a meeting, so this could have been an email instead of a meeting. Got the other wrong around, didn't I? Okay.
I'm leveraging AI for emails.
Well, I think this really gets this question, because I'm going to guess that maybe nobody said that they would solve problems with AI necessarily. They would actually want to retain that, because I think we're not in the business of shipping AI. And I mean, like, as product managers, we're not here to just ship an AI tool. We're here to solve a business problem. And I think that's what a lot of that was about. It was kind of like, well, what would you hand over? But I'm guessing none of you said making decisions about how you would actually build, like what the product would actually be. It might be simple things. It's not simple things, but it might be an attempt to say, well, actually, I want to get rid of this. And I hate doing like Miro boards with like Post-it notes and a whole group of it. Why is everybody laughing at that? Everybody seems to hate Miro boards, but I think that's kind of what I was trying to get at with you. You're not handing over the actual things that make your job what you do as product managers. You want to hand over things that you feel could be automated or made more efficient by using these things. I think that's what it is. Is that what we were all sort of agreeing? Has anybody got a radical, like, oh?
This radical pin. I can't reason say you can't three what's it that something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can
Yeah.
oh that's right now. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I would rather have an API, some sort of interface to my head that basically people could ask me questions like that. So that's not really true. But yeah, there's a lot of things we could automate, make more efficient, but it's not necessarily the business problem solving aspects or how we're going to bring value to a customer or something like that. That's kind of our raison d'etre. That's a really wanky phrase, but yeah. So the best tool for the job might be simple database query, cleaner UI, clearer workflow, as we said. It might even be shock horror, no AI at all. The most pragmatic strategy is often knowing when not to use it. So the first few slides that we had were about attempt to help you change how you think about AI. So when somebody says to you, well, we need AI in this thing, you can go, well, actually, there's a whole, 40, 50 years of AI things. Let's choose something. Eventually, once we know what the problem actually is, we're trying to solve. The middle slides will look briefly a bit about how you might build with AI, or actually what you might build that has some AI in it, and then some of the top issues about what you need to think about as a product manager. Total cost of ownership keeps hitting my brain there. And the later slides, we looked at how you need to consider how you would pay for that plan, that kind of thing, and then really what product managers are about. So I came up with this little phrase, may you build on the shifting sands of hype. May you not build in the shifting hands of hype, get it right, but on the bedrock of a real-world problem. And also, if you've got any real-world problems that need solved, I'm looking for a job. So, yeah, that's it. I've got some further reading if anybody wants it. That's me, my LinkedIn. So if anybody wants it, there's a good article, I think, the full ProductTank AI panel session write-up from Birmingham. I'm going to make these slides available, so you've got them. There's also one about handcrafted logic to digital parrots, a long search for machine intelligence. So it was a kind of discussion about, people are going, oh, it's all about AGI. We're going to get to AGI any minute now. It's going to be great. Yeah, it's good. We're going to do it because people, they're investing in a lot of these companies that are saying we want AGI and we're just nearly there. And in fact, when OpenAI changed to a for-profit, and Microsoft, it turned out that Microsoft had a clause about their investment that was talking about AGI. Again, it was like, unless there's going to be some step changes, LLMs are not going to give us AGI at the moment. Next year they'll have solved it and they'll be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's not the what they've got at the moment. Beyond the prompt, so it was a bit about vibe coding that you might find fancy. It's basically how I've worked together with an AI tool and had some problems, and also how it lovingly kept saying, wow, you're really good at this, because I noticed base 64 encoding on something, and it was like, I never noticed it. So, yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Have I been too long? Not long enough? No? Right, go off. Yeah? Go. Oh. I could be really flippant with that. So where do I draw the line between vibe coding and actual architectural? I think my flippant answer is around you're responsible for it if you're the one that's developing it, and if you're the engineering lead on the team that I'm with as a product manager, then you're responsible for that. I'll have a discussion about how you're getting there. So in the same way as I might be interested in CI/CD or environments or the cost of QA testing or the SREs or the operational aspects of how I'm going to do this and the total cost of ownership, I'll not be hugely interested in how you get to that, but you'll have to own it. So if you use a tool to generate code in the same way as you went to Stack Exchange and copied and pasted a solution that actually 6 months later you discover was a total disaster, you'll still have to own it. That was slightly flippant, but Does that help? Did that? Yeah? Yeah. You still have to know how to architect things. You still have to know how to code. You still have to know the algorithms, the patterns. You still have to know all that stuff. You can't just rely on, the vibe coding thing and to do all that, because you have to be able to assess it. Mm-hmm. You've made that decision, but that's fine. People still use Stack Exchange. If we think about libraries, you could have walked into a library and looked up algorithm textbooks on the best sorting algorithms, and suddenly decided that you'd pick some sort of weird bubble sort algorithm. Why? But you made that decision, and maybe you didn't. There was no books in that library that included all the better search algorithms, or they understood your exact problem as what you were trying to solve. So you still need to apply your own understanding. I think that's one of the problems. It's being seen as kind of, it's too easy, and I likened it to the supermarkets, where, like, the high street used to have your butcher and your baker and your candlestick maker, your grocer, those people on there. And then this little thing called the supermarket came in, and it had all the products that the other better shops had, but it's slightly cheaper, and you could do it all in the same place. And so it was kind of easier for the shopper. They could get in there, they could just get all the stuff that they needed, and they could go. But the cornflakes just weren't as good as the ones you could buy from the grocers. Why would you buy them from the grocers? But, right? And we're kind of at that stage. People are seeing that. And then all those little shops died, and the supermarkets took over, and then they moved out to the outskirts and then killed the high street. But it's somewhere in there we're at with vibe coding, I think. Yes.
I'm interested. You talk about the 5 minute. Not less. I'm assuming how much she's benefited in having AI, because I know that I'll put it up roles now. People are thinking it's complete right, and a lot of where size now, size, good with AI, generate science pattern, human pockets.
Yeah.
And I'm going to build this. Started the initial phase, built some work on. So,
well, that, yeah.
All the consent.
I think there's a blip at the moment, which is it's actually irritated our roles more, because there's a lot more. You can't do that, or we don't know the cost of that, or but there's similar periods when that happens, when a new technology comes along and there's like a desire to use it. We all want to use GitLab because it's the new cool sexy thing, and we don't like GitHub anymore. Really? Okay, tell me why. And then we had, I remember this from a few years ago in a team that basically wanted to do that. And I was going, well, how is that going to make us any better? How are we going to be more efficient about it? What's it going to do? Because we're going to have some downtime, because we'll have to move it all into that. So like that, I think product managers have to explain more up to the stakeholders, because we've got a lot of stakeholders, I think, coming in saying, we need AI, we've got to put AI in our marketing things, and then we've got to explain to them, well, that's not the problem. And I hope some of those phrases might actually be quite useful to you. What is the actual problem? A lot of people say to me that I usually say, right, but what's the problem you try to solve? Because a lot of people will come and say, right, so I want to use this thing and I want to do that, and then because that's going to help me with this. And then I'll go, what is the actual problem that you've got? And I think as product managers, that's kind of where you need to be. And does that help? I think. I don't hate you all. Don't worry. No.
It is, of course, teams there as well, especially. Well, I feel like now going towards AI startups, so we've got investment. We wouldn't have done that for pulling an AI out to let go of these now. To like AI, how do we?
Exactly. I mean, there's so many, there's a lot of jobs I've seen as a result of the governments. And again, I'm not annoyed with all these people, right? The government started doing the incubator for AI, right? Does anybody have anything to do with that?
No,
but you know about it. So there's also grants and schemes. So if you've got an AI company, right, you'll get certain tax issues. There's a lot of other companies from other countries are now putting up jobs that have to be based in the UK, are just a token, I think. I mean, not that I'm in any of those jobs, but I suspect once you get in those jobs, you'll discover it's probably just a token gesture so that they can claim whatever the inputs are. God, I do sound very cynical.
Hello, Richard.
Token gestures, yeah. That enough. I'll shut up now.
We do have time for more questions.
Yeah, we're going to have a miss me anything.
Brilliant talk, Richard.
Cute.